This is Stacy Screen with a second portion of Isaiah Eaton for the post-test voice interpreting. This is part 2. There's another example I had. Oh, that's right. Okay, I remember it now. So there's one I wanted to add. You know the stealth military airplanes? Now you know how those work is scientists looked at the owl and how the owl could sit completely silent, and when it would see a mouse scurrying on the ground, it could just swoop undetected and silently get its prey. And that's how they made the stealth airplanes. So that's what's meant by the word biomimetics. And it's really borrowed from the Greek. Bio meaning life, and mimetics meaning to copy. So it takes things in nature and copies them so that you can invent new things. Hi, my name is Tom Dunn. I'm your substitute teacher for today. We're going to talk about science. Are you all ready? Okay. So I'd like to explain a little bit about science related to trees. Now you see all the green leaves on trees. You know, every day we see those and we don't really think much about it. But the leaves on the trees are really pretty amazing inside. I'd like to explain a little bit more to you. Now, if we were to take a leaf and look at it in a microscope, magnify it, you'd see all these little cells. And those are called chloroplasts. And those actually aren't green. They look like glass. It looks like a bunch of glass balls. Now, inside of that glass cell, it looks like glass. Inside of those are chlorophyll. Now that's actually the green part. So when you see the green, that's what it is. And it's actually a food factory. And it produces food. And the way it produces food is it produces a type of sugar. And it first starts with the sun. The sunlight hits the plant, penetrates into the leaf, and that helps the food factory operate. Now, you know how we breathe and we expel carbon dioxide, excuse me, CO2. We expel that into the air. And so when the leaf takes in that CO2, it makes that carbohydrate. It's a type of sugar, and that's what it produces. It keeps the tree alive. And it's very interesting. Even when it's cloudy and we can't see the sun, water is still absorbed through the tree's roots. You know, and that's H2O. So you have oxygen, one oxygen atom and two hydrogen atoms. And the food factory takes that apart and it uses the oxygen, it uses the oxygen, it throws that out, and that's what we breathe. And the hydrogen it uses, so the CO2 comes in, it uses the hydrogen and it throws out the oxygen, and that process just keeps on going. And you know, syrup actually comes from a tree. And that's that type of carbohydrate I was talking about, the sugar that we eat. Plus, the tree stays alive by making that. So the trees are kind of like a quiet factory. You know, when you compare it to the things that we usually call factories that are smelly and very, very noisy, the tree is like a silent factory and it's clean. So we have the tree that I just talked about, and then also if you think about the ocean, it's such a vast, vast ocean. If we go down 300 feet, not down to the bottom of the ocean floor, but just down 300 feet, if we were able to take one drop of water and magnify it under a magnifying glass, we'd see green plants. And those are called phytoplankton. And so it's like an underwater forest, same thing as what we see outside of the water in a regular tree. And so that phytoplankton takes in the CO2 as well, produces and then throws out the oxygen. You know, and there's so much ocean in the world. And so then if we also look at, there's a huge creature in the ocean, it's called the blue whale. And it looks like it swims rather slowly. It's 100 feet long, and it weighs 150 tons, so it's extremely heavy. Now the size of the heart is 1,000 pounds. Can you imagine just the size of the heart? And it pumps 14,000 pounds of pressure all through the body. That's how hard it pumps the blood. Now if you notice the whale, it might appear to be lazy, but scientists actually put in a little monitor inside the whale, and then they just let it swim. And for 10 months they left it alone, and they figured out it swam 10,000 miles. So what appears to be slow really isn't. It's actually a pretty fast creature, even though it's so large. We can also look at the dolphin, and they do tricks and they're very cute, but they can also swim to about 120 feet deep in the ocean. Now there's one record-breaking swim. It was 1,795 feet deep. There's no sunlight that far down, and the pressure that deep down would crush somebody that swam down there. But the dolphins can do it. And they have lungs that they breathe in with, but they're still able to go so deep, and they close their lungs up. But how does their brain keep working, and how does the heart keep pumping when they go so far down? And the reason is because it stores oxygen inside of its body. So then when it goes so far down, it closes its lungs, and then all of that oxygen that's stored goes to the heart and to the brain to help it function.